All right. Morning, everybody. Some of everybody. I know people are trickling in from the breakfast room, and you can tell we're on the last day of our conference because we're just starting a little bit later. So I did say to you all at the beginning of all of this that this conference would be personal to you, and having information thrown in your faces for a day and a half is its own special sort of form of exhaustion. So we totally get that, which is why we've got kind of a light last half day, and hoping that some of you will be able to enjoy our trip to the Smithsonian's National Zoo in the afternoon, and if you can't, that's okay too. And then the other thing I would just encourage you to do, and again, you're welcome to, I did hang these posters back up that we created on Friday. There is some good advice and things that are there, so if you can't remember it, but you want to just want to keep it in your brains, feel free to snap some photos of those as well, and free information for you all, so that's great. So what we're going to get started with today is we want to spend some time talking about how you all can get more involved in GRIN2B Foundation. Thank you all so much for the kind words you've all had about this particular thing's done, and so we're hopeful that you're going to leave here inspired and motivated, and we want to kind of help give you guys some things to channel that energy into. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome up Liz and our executive director, Alyssa Taylor-Bastillo, to talk about Be the Change and how to get involved in GRIN2B Foundation. So round of applause for Liz and Alyssa.
Wow, no pressure with the screens. Oh, are we going to go? Yeah. Just talk very. There we go.
There it is.
It's good now. Sorry to make you come all the way up here. So thank you guys so much again for joining us this weekend. Did you want to give a quick plug for our combined conference next year?
Yes. That's what the slide says. Yes. So it was brought to my attention that we had incorrect dates on our slide yesterday, which is probably because someone who shall not be named, but her name rhymes with Schmorin, gave me incorrect dates. It is not 6 days. It is 4. July 22nd to the 25th, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday is a half day, correct?
Thursday's a half day.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So no, we're not going to torture you guys for a week. Torture ourselves for a week. So plan ahead, and hopefully we'll see you guys there. All right, what's next?
So, as Phil mentioned, we just want to take a moment to hop into some opportunities that we have for you guys to get more involved with the GRIN2B Foundation. So some of the information on these slides you guys may already be aware of, but we just want you to revisit them. As we go through these slides, if you look on your tables, there are handouts for volunteer information, and in your folders as well. So we will be referencing to how you can follow the steps, scan the QR code, and get more information about how to get involved and be the change. So first, we would like to just start off by giving a huge thank you to you, everyone in this room, everyone watching online. Thank you for your interest in, first of all, learning about how to get involved with our organization, and your participation, just know, is a very vital step towards deeper engagement with our organization. Whether it is your first time joining us and engaging with us, or if we have met with you before, we truly appreciate you all taking the first step to getting more involved with our foundation and making an impact. By joining us this weekend, you are already taking a step along the path of getting involved with our organization and our patient community. So by joining us, you are empowering yourselves, your families, and others through shared experiences. You're connecting with one another in a very supportive community. You're advocating for increased awareness and research for GRIN2B, and you're able to access very valuable resources and information. So your involvement is very crucial to our mission. So in this presentation, we're just going to share with you guys some additional ways that you can continue to support us in making a difference. So volunteering with the GRIN2B Foundation, it's a rewarding way to continue to contribute to our mission and support families affected by GRIN2B. So here are just a few ways that you can help. By volunteering with us, you become an essential part of our mission to support and empower families affected by GRIN2B. So together, everyone in this room, everyone watching online, together we can make a very significant impact. At the GRIN2B Foundation, volunteers are really essential to advancing our mission of supporting families and promoting research. Whether you're helping plan our signature events like this one, we have some volunteers here in the room. And keep in mind, our board is completely volunteer-led as well. So volunteering to help us with our events, with our mission in general, assisting with fundraising, or just contributing your skills to specific project, your time and talents really make a meaningful difference. We offer a various range of volunteer opportunities to suit different interests, skills, and your availability. So our needs they vary throughout the year, depending on upcoming events and initiatives. So there's always a chance to get involved and make an impact. So some ways to get involved as a volunteer are through our awareness campaigns, where you can participate in spreading awareness about GRIN2B through social media, distributing informational materials, and engaging in local community outreach. We have our family support programs, and through those you'll be able to provide direct support to families by sharing resources, offering emotional support, or connecting them with medical professionals and researchers. By contributing via administrative assistance, you can help behind the scenes tasks such as data entry and assisting with communication efforts. And we even have opportunities where you can contribute your special skills, volunteering your unique talents and professional skills. For example, marketing, and grant writing to support our various projects and initiatives. So one other great way to volunteer is to just help us with our events via event planning. So I referenced to the handout on your tables. So you just want to either go to our website, GRIN2B.com/volunteer. Those of you at home who are watching, you can scan the QR code that's popping up on your screen right now. We've made sure to make various ways of access. If you're interested in volunteering, the process is very simple. You'd hop onto our website. There's a volunteer interest form. You get to actually tell us what you would like to do for us. How cool is that? We don't get to just, this person's interested. Let's just plug them into a spot. We're very mindful in making sure that your engagement is very meaningful to you and that it resonates with you, so that you not only are contributing to helping us, but you're having fun in doing so. So make sure that you guys follow the QR code on the screen or on the handouts and get more information about how to become a volunteer with us. Liz, do you want to talk about our?
Yeah, so these are our areas of greatest need. Marketing is currently all me. Every newsletter, every social media post. Ryan does help with some of the scheduling, but it's all done by me. We do have a graphic designer that we work with, but website updates, that's all me. Yeah, so we definitely need help with that so that I can focus on more bigger picture projects, because that is very time consuming, but very much needed.
And don't get us wrong, I've tried to help Liz with graphic design and things, but my skills are not that good. So I will spend 10 hours on something that will take her like 10 minutes to do. And so we need help in that area.
Legal advice, we don't need very often, but it would be great to have someone we could rely on for that, because paying for legal advice is obviously not quite in the budget. Fundraising strategy, we always could use help with that. And then definitely various ongoing admin projects, board openings. I think there should be some board openings coming up soon. And like Alyssa said, our board is all volunteers. It's a 2-year role, and then if you want to extend, you can. You don't have to. You could just do it for 2 years. It's not a ton of time, but it is some time. And we do have our meetings in the evening, so you would have to make sure that at least one night a week, not that we meet weekly, it's like every other month?
So we have our main board meetings every other month, but we were very mindful in being considerate of our volunteers' time. So our main board meetings are every other month, and then we have committee meetings that are on the off months. So once a month, you will be
either in a committee meeting or a board meeting, right? So really, the more help we can get, the more we can do. So please, and obviously this is not meant to guilt anyone. We're not trying to pressure you. Everyone's on a different, is going to be ready to do things at a different time. And some of you in this room, I know, are very freshly diagnosed. Some of you have had the diagnosis for possibly 10 years. So there's no right timetable for you to follow. So just, if you are ready, just know that we would love to have you join us, and it would help us greatly, which then in turn will help your kids.
All right, so advocate and advocacy. So patient advocacy, I know I saw some people like, oh man, it's not as scary as you might think. It really just begins with you telling your story by sharing your family's experiences, the challenges, the victories, and everything in between. You guys are really helping to put a face to GRIN2B. So personal stories raise awareness, they inform research, advance policy, and they really inspire that meaningful change that we're really looking to get. So together, our collective voices, our collective voices help improve access to care, advance research, and create a stronger future for our community. So here are some of our major advocacy opportunities that we have coming up for our community. Last year, we actually launched our B program, so Be Empowered and Engaged, and the response from our community was really incredible. So this program was created to support every GRIN2B advocate, whether you are navigating a new diagnosis or you have years of advocacy experience. So through community learning webinars, advocacy training, and just year-round educational resources, the B program really does empower families with the knowledge, confidence, and the tools to advocate effectively for research, policy, and better care. So as we continue to grow this program, our goal remains the same: to educate, empower, and equip every member of our community to become a strong voice for GRIN2B. To make advocacy even easier, we're hoping to launch our Advocacy Action Hub in the near future. So through the hub, you guys will actually be able to receive action alerts when your voice is needed. So with just a few clicks, you can send messages directly to your member of Congress. And the most important step comes afterwards. After you press the click button, sharing those opportunities with your networks, your families, your friends, and community, so we can really amplify our collective voice.
And I just want to give a little shout out to Alyssa, because she's been with us 2 years, and prior to her coming on, we didn't have any sort of advocacy programming. She created the Be Empowered and Engaged program, and she's very experienced in this advocacy, this whole area of expertise. I knew it was an important part of the job, but it was not something we had the capacity to focus on, and I did not have the know-how to even, it was just like, okay, I know we should be engaging more in advocacy and legislation and, you know, rare disease policy, and I just was like, I don't know, that's not my wheelhouse. Someone else will have to do that. And then thankfully Alyssa came on and created it, and we have since been able to get more involved and sign, you know, letters to support different rare disease policies.
And it's not, I thank you for the applause and I thank you for the mention, but anyone in this room can be an advocate. All you have to do is be able to tell your story. Don't sugarcoat it. Just when you go to the Hill or even meeting with folks in your local community and your local districts, just tell your story, because that's the most effective way to do it. So I thank you for the kudos, but anyone in this room can do exactly the same thing that I'm doing. It takes no real skill or expertise to do so. So really quickly, because we are very limited on time, and I realized I put way too many slides in this presentation. So we also have Rare Across America coming up in August, and that is hosted by the Every Life Foundation for Rare Diseases, and that is an opportunity for you to participate and speak to your representatives locally in district, and then following that
Actually, could I interject for a quick second?
Yeah.
The Rare Across America and Rare Disease Week, will those not be talked about later in the other advocacy
They
talk?
may, and I see our other presenter, but I didn't want to put her on the spot.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying maybe for time's sake, we could assume
Yeah.
she's going to talk about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to
Cool.
rush through these. And then we have Rare Disease Week on Capitol Hill happening in February. So if you guys want to join me here in DC, please do so. We did it this past February, and I was able to meet a few advocates and have boots here on the ground for that. So fundraising opportunities, let's hop into these. We have our signature primary fundraising events. We have our Awareness Week, our Facebook fundraiser, March 12th through 18th, followed by our Be Active for GRIN2B fundraiser, which Liz is going to talk about coming up in September. And then our end of the year campaign, our Giving Tuesday. We have toolkits available online for you guys to be able to fundraise. I've made it as easy as possible by literally typing out scripts for you guys to use when you call someone on the phone or just copying and pasting an email. So just feel free to access those fundraising toolkits and just copy and paste or read off, and you guys should be good to go. And Liz and I are always happy to join you guys on calls or outreach. Just feel free to send us an email or I was going to say just three-way call us in, but you would have to let us know first. But we're always ready to help you guys with anything that you need in terms of fundraising.
Wait, actually, go back to that slide quickly. Sorry. So, I mean, yes, I'm sure you guys know about all these, but I just really quickly wanted to point out the company matching. Definitely, we do get a lot of company matching, and it's very, very helpful. And some companies will double match or triple match. So I know we have one family here who always does a great fundraiser. Shout out Laura. And gets us a very nice match. So that is very helpful. And then similarly, check if your company has any grants. Some organizations have grants. They'll offer grants to nonprofits if you nominate organization. And so we do have a family member that works for TJ Maxx, and TJ Maxx has a corporate right? What is it? Corporate, I'm saying the wrong thing. Corporate giving program, thank you. And so she has been nominating us for, I think, the past 3 years, and we get a really nice grant that we are free to use for the area of greatest need. And I don't think it's a lot of work on her part. She just nominates us, fills out a form. We fill out a form, Melissa fills out a form on our end, and then we get a really nice check. So see if your company might have something like that, or maybe someone you know has a company that could nominate us. That would be amazing. Okay, now we're going to talk about Be Active very quickly. How far? Okay. All right.
It's the last day.
Be Active for GRIN2B. We created this in 2020 during COVID. In 2019, we had a cocktail reception, and we had a golf fundraiser that were very successful. We were going to do the golf fundraiser again in 2020, and then COVID hit. And we had to really pivot, and we came up with Be Active for GRIN2B. The first year, it was really just everyone was going to do their own walk in their own little, what were we calling it? Bubble, thank you. In their own bubbles and fundraise, and it was supposed to be a safe way to raise money. You were outside, you could social distance. And so as the years have gone on, we decided to kind of broaden it. So Be Active for GRIN2B is not, you could make it a walk, you could make it a run, you could make it any sort of activity you want. I think maybe the next slide. Yeah. So, yes. So we have resources on our website. We just created a new testimonial resource where we have pictures and examples from different families of the different. I realize these pictures are all from walks. I should have picked better pictures, but we last year, Nisha and I and several other parents from the Chicago area, we had our event at a swim pool. So we just had a big swim party. The previous year, we did a dance party. I know there's a family that's done bowling fundraisers. Another family, some families, their activity is technically not really an activity. It's just one mom hosts a dinner for all her friends and charges them a ticket. And she hosts like a really, really fancy dinner. I believe I'm going to call out people. Allison last year got wine donated and did a raffle for a wine gift basket. So there is really no end to what you could do. Don't feel like if you don't want to be active, you can make it whatever you want. We really don't care. But yeah, so be creative. Help us raise $65,000. I think we came maybe just short of our goal last year. But I felt confident we can reach our goal this year, and it really, really obviously help us, and then it helps you guys in return. So we really encourage you to create an event. Don't be scared, and also don't feel pressured. Even if your event raises $500, that's helpful too. Like, you don't need to feel like you have to raise $5,000 or whatever amount. And you also don't need to feel like you have to host a big event. If you don't want to host a big event, host a small event. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And I think that's all I was going to say about that. Oh, yeah, obviously, if you scan the QR code, that is where you can create your fundraising. You can create your own personal fundraising page, share that, you can add your pictures and write your story, and then you can share that link, and, people can donate through that. And then we'll have a page where it'll list all the donors, and you can see how much everyone has raised. And yeah. Oh, also, if you're thinking you want to do this and you want some bracelets for your event, let us know, and we can give you a bunch of bracelets when you leave. Today. Or if you decide later you're going to do it, we can mail them to you.
Awesome. So really quick, just some other ways to get involved. We'll touch on Greek get-togethers. We actually used to have our own regional family meetups as our own individual organization, just small events for families and communities to come together and meet one another in between at all times during the year. So when I came on board, I recognized that there was a great need for us to get into more communities that were underserved. So we made a very conscious effort by partnering with Cure Grin and launching our GRI get-togethers, where we technically do one domestic location and one international location every year, but we help the people in those communities. We have one contact in those communities that we basically shepherd through the process of planning like a mini, I don't want to say a mini conference, but like a mini program where we offer the ability to provide research updates, and just a fun way for families to kind of meet together and have a fun activity afterwards. So it is kind of like a mini conference, but it's usually just like one day, and we provide the funding and also the assistance with securing a location, figuring out a date, and outreaching to those in that area for attendance. So this year we held one in Illinois last month, and we're looking to host in Seattle, Washington in October, and then in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in November.
Oh, and it's these events this year are sponsored by GRIN Therapeutics. Oh, and I just realized I should have added another logo. The one in Brazil is in conjunction with the GRIN Brazil organization. I am sorry to Maria that I did not add your logo if you are watching this.
Awesome.
Let's wrap up. Can we wrap up?
Yep. So, thank you guys.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I thought of one more thing to say.
Stop for questions. We got to stop for questions. You can email us with questions or upload them to Slido.
Emmy, I have one more really important thing to say, and this is tying back to fundraising. Just wanted you guys to know a little behind the scenes is that Alyssa came on 2 years ago. Prior to that, we were all entirely volunteer-led. No one got paid. Board members don't get paid. That's just the standard. And so Alyssa only exists because of one family, Beth and Oliver Wright. They donate the funds for her salary. So we would not have Alyssa without them. They are not here. But we are very grateful to them. And if they hadn't swooped in right when I was about to like completely fall apart, it just was like the perfect magical circumstances of me being like, how am I going to keep this going? This is so hard. I actually also have a full-time job and do this. They came in and said, can we help you and pay for a person? You look like you need help. And I was very grateful. And that's why we're still here today, is because of them. I think I probably would have died.
And I know we're supposed to wrap up, but I just want to echo on the fact that Liz has a full-time job and I work very, very limited hours. But if we had the funding,
she is part-time.
Yeah, very part-time. If we had the opportunity and the funding, we could bring on additional staff people to help take some of the lift off of Liz, our board of volunteers.
Or what if Liz became staff?
Oh, TBD or two. We'll talk about this offline. We had to stop for questions.
Yeah, sorry.
We're about to open up a whole can of worms. Stop.
No, we're not going to take questions, right?
Nope, we're not taking questions. You can email us or upload to Slido any questions that you have, and we'll respond in a timely manner. But thank you guys for your time, and we look forward to seeing you as a volunteer or at another event, online, in person. But we look forward to continuing on this journey with all of you.
Okay, now I would like to. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I forgot that there's a thing we have to do first. The activity. I don't know if Aubrey and Kristen and Jillian want to come up. Oh, yes. Thank you. No. You come up, Aubrey. Yeah. That's my dream too. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right, everybody. Hi, and welcome to Turning Lemons into Lemonade. How to make the best of an extremely rare diagnosis. I'm talking loud for a reason. Okay, thank you to my helpers for passing out your lemon stress balls. Okay, oh, also, as I mentioned, you're gonna need paper and pen for this. And if anyone needs notebooks, we have extra notebooks. No, there's notebooks right there. Where are you going? Oh, but there's pens in the notebooks. Also, even if you don't need it, there's extra notebooks, so take an extra notebook if you want one, because I would like to not pack them in my suitcase. Okay, so we're gonna do a short exercise, and then we will jump into our panel discussion with these amazing GRIN2B moms. Okay, so thank you all for being here. I know we're all a mix of different families at different stages in the journey, and so there's no one way to process the diagnosis. I think that's been the theme that we've been kind of repeating all weekend. I just want to really drive that home, that we're all in different places and there's no right or wrong way to do this journey. So today our activity is called Honoring the Sour, Finding the Sweet. And so just quickly from my personal experience, definitely in the beginning of Lucy's diagnosis, obviously that was a different time. There was no hope because there was nothing to hope for, that nothing existed, no organizations existed, no websites existed, there was no cute bee, there was no cute zebra, there was just nothing. So there was nothing to cling on to, and so it was obviously very sad and scary and lonely and depressing. And I might be dating myself, but this was 2014, and there was this website called The Mighty. I don't know, does anyone remember The Mighty? It was like a website where people could submit their own blogs. Remember blogs? And people would just write stories about their life as like parents of, special needs kids or disabled kids, however you want to say it. And it would be like, 10 reasons why I'm so stressed out as a mom of a special needs kid. Or it was just like all like really like gloom and doom and like, but at first it was very validating, like, yeah, this is hard. Yeah, these people get it. And then after a while I was like, I don't want to keep talking about how hard it is. Like, it's just bumming me out. I want to move on from that. Like, I didn't want to be stuck in this poor me phase. So I just stopped reading those blogs because they were not helping me. I didn't want to be sad anymore. It was not the way to help Lucy. It was not the way to help anyone in my family. So I just had my own ways of getting past it, and obviously starting this organization was part of that. But there were lots of little things that I did also. So obviously we all know when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But I don't want anyone to feel invalidated. We don't want anyone to feel like it's sounding like you have to pretend, that you're happy and that the hard things don't exist. Of course they exist. So we're not here to ignore any of the bad stuff. We're not trying to, put a magic, a pretty bow on it and say, it's great. We know it's not. It's complex. There's burnout. All the stuff that we've talked about this whole weekend about what's hard. But this will help us process, I hope, will help us process our feelings without judgment, and then figure out how we can give ourselves grace and community support and just kind of change the perspective. All right, so we're going to work on this worksheet. I will guide you through it. Sorry, I guess it's not a worksheet because you don't have a worksheet. So it'll just hopefully help you reframe your journey and help you hopefully find purpose. And again, I realize this is like a 15-minute activity, so it's not going to like magically change your life, but we're going to do it anyway. All right. So honoring the sour. So take a few minutes, write down one current specific GRIN2B hurdle that is draining your energy right now. Anything that is draining you. And then you can, not check the box because you don't have that, but pick one of those that describes how this challenge makes you feel. Okay, I think everyone seems like they're done writing. Okay, let's see. All right, straining out the bitter. Look at the hurdle you wrote down. Let's separate the hard, biological, systemic facts from the heavy stories we tell ourselves. So what is the hard fact, the thing that you cannot change right now? And then think about what is your inner narrative, the painful story my mind tells me about this fact. Because they aren't hitting this milestone, I am failing them as a parent, which I'm sure is something we've all felt at one point. Okay, I'll go to the next one. Adding the sweetener. So let's rewrite that inner narrative. How can you look at that exact same hard fact that you wrote down, but view yourself and your child with radical grace? Can you reframe that narrative? For example, my child is working incredibly hard against the genetic barrier. I am an advocate, not a failure. Also, what is one micro win your child achieved recently that you want to intentionally celebrate today? Okay, and then we'll go on to section 4, gathering your hive, which is what we're doing here this weekend. Obviously, rare disease parenting cannot be done in isolation. Write down one immediate micro action you can take to lean on your community this week. You can drop a post or ask a question in the GRIN2B parent support group. Certainly, if you're not already in that group, definitely I would request to join. You can look up resources, upcoming events through our website, text a trusted friend or family member specifically to ask for one practical favor, which I'm sure is something that is very hard for all of us. I know it's very hard for me to do that, and especially after 10 years into the diagnosis, it kind of feels like no one cares to help you anymore, to be honest. So I actually don't generally ask for help. Carve out 10 minutes of completely uninterrupted, guilt-free rest time for myself. Lock yourself in the bathroom if you have to. Just think of something you can do. Get creative. Okay. All right, guys. Well, now we're going to move into something I'm very excited about, a discussion with these moms. Kristen Everett, Jillian I can't say your last name. Nellison, thank you, and Aubrey Schrock. 3 moms. I've known Aubrey and Jillian for a very long time, and Kristen I've known for a little bit. And they've all have amazing stories to share about the ways they've chosen to reframe the narrative on this crazy curveball that was thrown all of us. So I'm going to come sit with you guys and chat. Is this mine? Do you have one? Here. Okay. So let's start with some introductions. Can you guys each tell us, well, you can repeat your names, where you're from, who your Bs are.
I'm Kristen Everett. I'm from Philadelphia. My B is Jay. He's 6. He's a fraternal twin. His brother Cameron is on the autism spectrum. And we also have a daughter named Quinn who's 4.
Hi everybody, I'm Jillian Nelison, and I have an 18-year-old B, Charlotte, and she recently graduated from special needs high school, which obviously made us very proud, but it's also different than we expected that event to be. I'm from the Netherlands. We live close to Amsterdam. We have 2 additional children, an almost 17-year-old daughter and an almost 13-year-old son, Caitlin and Liam, who you saw yesterday.
And I am Aubrey Schrock. I'm from Northern Indiana. Hunter is my B, and he is a triplet. Those are his 2 sisters over there. I also have an older son who is 28 and a grandbaby who's now 19 months, I believe. What else did you ask? That's enough about me.
You are a very attractive grandmother. Just to help me out, what time am I shooting for here? I know you said we're way over.
9:30.
Okay, that's good.
If we could we'll talk fast. Before that, that's great, but 9:30.
Okay, that's fine. Wait, no, that's still puts us way behind.
Well, yes.
Okay. All right. All right.
We get one question.
Okay. All right, guys. No, we don't have to go through this fast. So
Nice to meet you. Bye.
we're done. Okay. How have you personally made sense of your child's diagnosis? And we don't have to always go in a row, but if you don't want to be first.
It's taken me a long time, but I have come to believe it's part of a bigger picture. My husband and I talk a lot about how it's very difficult to have two kids with special needs. Obviously, it takes a lot of planning and logistical finagling to make our lives work. But the amount of things that they have taught us and taught our family members and taught our community and brought to our lives far outweigh any of the challenges and, you know, any of the perceived negatives of having a special needs child. And so I think, like, having Cam as his brother, having Cam and Jay in our lives was for a reason. They inspired us to create a nonprofit foundation, and they inspired us to spread the word about GRIN2B, about autism, and they've inspired us to, you know, sort of meet different people in our community. And so I think God gave them to us to teach us about differences, to help us teach other people about differences, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And so that's helped me make sense of it, that it's helped me figure out that it's for a purpose greater than just us as individuals.
I must say that even after 18 years, I still struggle with diagnosis, and I still think it's not fair. She's a beautiful kid, and 2 small letters in her DNA turned around, and she faces a completely different future than we ever envisioned for her. And my way of making sense of it is that I've become active in the GRIN2B community, or in the GRIN community, I should say. My husband and I, we are co-founders and board members of GRIN Europe, and I have a unofficial Dutch GRIN group, GRIN in Nederland, and I'm also active in the German group, Gemeinsam GRIN, Together GRIN. And my inspiration in that, or my goal in that, is to make the journey for other people easier than our journey has been. As Liz said, she was diagnosed in 2014. We were diagnosed in August of 2015, and there was absolutely nothing. We got 2 copies from the internet, and they told us, read this, have fun, come back in 5 years. Maybe we know something more by then. So there were no other parents. There were no websites, no resources. There was absolutely nothing. We tried to find doctors. We tried to find treatment options, and every door closed in our face. And that makes you feel very lonely, very desperate. And that was our way of thinking. If we can make it easier for other parents, that's our goal, and that is our way of making it worthwhile. And don't get me wrong, I love my daughter to pieces. She's amazing. She works so hard, and she's come such a long way, but unfortunately the world isn't always kind, and I can't change the world, so I have to change her and make her as independent and as resilient as I can.
Geez, I'm not sure I have anything to add to those 2 wonderful answers, but I did want to say too that my answer is I'm not sure even after 8 years that it makes sense. Even from the very beginning, similar answer, we went into our genetic counseling appointment. I had already gotten the diagnosis, read everything on the internet, found Liz already, went there, and they showed me a PowerPoint slide with words misspelled and things they had obviously thrown together in that last minute, nothing that I hadn't already seen. And they said, okay, let us know if you have any questions, schedule a follow-up if you want to. And now we've come to where his last stay at the pediatric neurology in Indianapolis, one of the doctors said, oh, I have a GRIN2A patient. And I went, what? And I happened to be wearing a sweatshirt, and that's how he noticed. So I guess for me to make it personally make sense, I have involved myself, obviously on the board, advocating, trying to connect parents. It is a different world, and some of my answers to some of these other questions might also say it. Being a mom of triplets, you're already isolated. Nobody has that experience of being a mom of triplets where one is special needs. Kind of makes you a mom not of triplets anymore because they're all different. So I have a triplet community that I love dearly, but I still can't relate to them. So I've tried to just help people connect throughout, tell them to advocate for their kids, and that's helped me personally get through it, and help make everything good for his sisters, which life is difficult for them too. So that's how I've personally, I guess.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I think one thing that that's helped me process it is a phrase, and it took me a while to get there, but it's just, it is what it is. Like, it happened. I can't make it not happen. I don't, I mean, maybe someday there'll be a cure, but I still don't even know when people say cure. I don't think it would be completely, like, magically a typical person would appear. So it's just, it is what it is. Anytime something happens, it's like, oh, okay, like, she's doing this now, like, this new symptom has happened, like, okay, well, I guess this is our life now. Like, you just get used to things going wrong. I don't even expect things to go right. When things go right, I'm like, oh man, that was cool. But also, and I really want these ladies to talk. I'm sorry, I don't mean to hog the spotlight. But another thing that I really have loved is making amazing new friends. I mean, of course, GRIN2B moms, yes. I mean, and I'm very blessed that where I live in just outside Chicago, there happens to be a lot of other Chicagoland families that most of them aren't here this weekend. And Aubrey's not too far away in Indiana. But yeah, just as an example, Nisha, who was the moderator for a couple sessions yesterday and I think stepped out, she's mentioned she's a pediatrician. She's actually a pediatrician at the same hospital where my kids all go. And the doctor that gave us the diagnosis was her mentor. And then the pediatrician that we got switched to, she shared an office with. So it was just a very small world. What? She worked in my building. Oh, and she used to work at Phil's High School running the school-based health center.
See, that's
So
something
it was
that went
just
very right, and you're like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. What'd you say?
That's something that went right, and you're
Yes,
like, hey, that's
something,
cool.
Exactly. It was like, what? So, and then not only GRIN2B moms, but something that really helped us was meeting parents in our community that had kids with different rare disorders. So I have 3 amazing, like, best friends now that we just had a mom's weekend a couple months ago, and their kids have different rare disorders, and we just get together all the time, and I wouldn't be friends with them otherwise. And I mean, I'm sure we all know even though I love my other friends who don't have GRIN2B kids, it can be very hard to relate to them. Okay, guys, so what positive things, well, we might have already covered this one. Okay, what have you built, started, or become because of this journey that you're most proud of? And that might be you could maybe talk more about your specific foundation.
Yeah, my husband and I started a foundation called the Brave Little Bears Foundation. When I was pregnant with the twins, we called them our little bears. It was a whole thing. But essentially, I sort of felt like frozen initially for the first few years and how to support both the boys. One having autism, one having GRIN2B. It was like this like illogical emotional pull of like if I advocated for one cause, I was supporting one kid more, even though it didn't make sense. And ultimately, what we realized in talking to my husband was like, we had access to all these amazing opportunities for the boys in our community, and we had been so lucky to have access in particular to an amazing physical therapist who did what many people know as DMI therapy. She did the original, which was Cuevas medic exercises with our BJ, and got him walking at 3.5 years old. And it was very expensive therapy, not covered by insurance. And we were so grateful to be able to do it. And I was also just so frustrated that people in our community didn't have access to that like we did. And so we realized both boys have developmental disabilities. Why can't we just raise money and just give it back out? So we decided to start this foundation where we just essentially raise money and give it back out in the form of grants to people to pay for private therapies that insurance won't cover. And so that's what we do now. And we started some other programs through the foundation. And the boys are basically the mascots for it. You know, I know some people feel differently about putting their kids' photos places, but we do use their photos, and they see their photos, and I think that they get excited when they see their photos on things. They're on a billboard right now on the Pennsylvania Turnpike because we have friends who work for a billboard company, and so we have friends, and their friends see their photos up there, and it's really exciting. So I probably spent too much time working on the foundation stuff, but like Liz, like it's made me feel like I'm making a small change in our community. Right now we only service our county in Pennsylvania. Like obviously I have big dreams to do much broader things. But we do like a mobile sensory space at community events, and like just being out in the community, taking the kids with me. They're taking my younger daughter and having her participate in events and seeing how she interacts with other kids, and having her, like a 4-year-old, talk about like, what are we doing for the foundation? Like that makes me feel like I'm making a difference, and like that makes me feel like Cam and Jay are making a difference. Like they're the ones who started this. They're the ones who inspired it. And so, you know, it's a nonprofit, but like it's really just like it's our family endeavor, I guess. Yeah, and all of our family members participated into. Our moms volunteer, siblings volunteer, so it's just been like a really fun thing. We only started it a year ago, so we're pretty new. And that's because it took me probably 4.5 years to kind of sit with the diagnosis and absorb it. So you don't have to do anything right away. It might take you some time, which it did. It took me a long time.
That's very impressive, really. I admire you. What makes me proud is I used to be a tax advisor, and I was good at my job, and it satisfied me. But to be honest, the work, if I can call it that I do now, that I help other parents, I give information to other parents, I gather information. I'm just a tax advisor. There's not a beta bone in my body. I don't understand anything from medical stuff, genetics, science, NMDA receptors, synapses, you name it. I don't get it, but the basics I do get, and I still talk to researchers and to doctors, and I talk to other parents, and even if it's in a general way, I can give them information, and I can help them make steps for their children. And I've made friends all around the world. And when I'm at a conference of this, like this, or next year at our European conference, I see parents who have answers, who have hope, who can think of a future for their children. And that makes me very proud that, as small as it is, I've played a little part in that.
I haven't built an entire foundation. And for those of us that aren't able to do that, I think one of the things that I'm most proud of, the first year, Liz talked earlier about Be Active. The first year we did it, I live near a state park, and we met to hike for Hunter's Hike. And it was a handful of people. You know, we socially distanced, just like she mentioned. And now we've grown after 5 years. This will be our 6th year. However many it has been. Every year we've done it. Okay. For all of the people that come to join us, well over 40 people attend the event. One of the top families that fundraise, even though it's still not much. It's $10 here, $5 there, from the community. But I'm able to thank the people that have supported me through the years. Every year, as Liz mentioned, as it goes on after years, it's harder to ask the people that have given to give again. It's harder to beg your friends for money. But by doing this event, I feel like I'm able to give back to them and thank them. So we have, a lot of times a bounce house for the kids. And the lunch is now donated by a local restaurant. It's just a way for us to get together, and it has grown. And to see the picture from our first year of just a few of us standing at on the trail hiking to this great big wide picture of almost 50 people hiking for Hunter, it makes me really proud that I've done that. So anybody, don't have to build a foundation. You can, but you can do that on your own and still be proud of what you've built and done.
Thank you. Those are all great answers. What does it mean to you to be part of the GRIN2B community?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Sorry,
What is it?
something to Aubrey, could you please repeat?
Of course. What does it mean to you to be part of the GRIN2B community?
Everything.
That was my answer.
I wouldn't, sorry. I don't think I would have survived without this community. I was so desperate. I was so lonely. We are parents, we're moms, and we fix things. If your child is sick or whatever, you fix it. And you're used to going to a doctor, and the doctor tells you what's wrong with you, and he says, well, you need this medicine, or you need an operation, or in a worst case scenario, you're going to pass away, but we'll keep you comfortable. But the doctor has answers. And having to deal with a doctor who has no answers at all, that was so frustrating and so unbelievable to me. So I had to get out and find the answers myself. And I found those answers in the GRIN2B community. What got the ball rolling for us was getting into contact with Liz. Through Liz, we learned about the first GRIN2B European conference in Barcelona in 2018. And I said to Nino, come hell or high water, we're going. And there we met other parents, we got answers, we learned about El Serene, we learned about the opportunities we had. And without this community, we would still be in limbo. So being a part of this community, meeting other families from all around the world, it has been a lifesaver for us, and it's given me a new purpose, basically.
I agree. I've already talked about how isolating it was being a mom of triplets, and then finding out one of your child is different from the others. But to find this Hive and know there's a spectrum for this disorder, but there's not a spectrum for the love and the care that you find in the community. We are here, and to be a part of that, I'm told anybody that I've talked to, find me on Facebook. I'm not Schrock on Facebook, actually, Aubrey Aaron. I can help connect you with other communities, because knowing that you have that support, if you have a question, hearing even newly diagnosed families, their perspective is life-changing this weekend. So it's everything to be a part of a Hive.
I think it was a good example yesterday. Liz, you put up a slide and it had all the bees' names on it. And when I saw Jay's name on the slide, I actually got emotional. And it was, I couldn't figure out why at first. And I said to my husband, I think I'm about to cry, and I don't know why. And I think it was because you have people in your life who are even if their kids have a disability, they're oh my God, I totally get it. My kid has a disability too. Or even my sister, who's around my family all the time, is I know what your life's like. I'm but you really don't. You don't know what our lives are like. Even if you stayed with us for a couple of nights, you don't know what it's like to constantly be chasing your child who has zero safety awareness, who has
we refer to him as like, we jokingly say like, we love you, but you're hard to keep alive. Like, you know, it's tough, but like, you have no idea what that feels like all the time. And then you can come to something like this and essentially trauma dump on someone you just met, and they totally get it, and it's just, it means so much to be able to have that. So thank you for building this, because it's very needed. And also just when I'm feeling like, you know, Jay gets up at 4 a.m. sometimes, and like sometimes it's very lonely to be up at that time. And
A lot of us are up at that time.
yeah. So I will maybe sometimes just go on the GRIN2B Facebook group and like read through posts, because it makes me feel like I'm less alone, and that's really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, that's all amazing. I mean, yeah, it's can sometimes be surreal for me to see all of the things that are happening and be a part of it, and to know that the Facebook group was once one mom. It wasn't even me. It was one mom named Donna Dunn, who's our vice president and not here. And then we got diagnosed, and I found her, and she said, I have a Facebook group. And I was the second person in it. And then now there's like, what, 1,000 people in it?
Right.
Yeah.
Over 1,000.
So it's incredible, and I love. I don't always post in there anymore, but it's just, I love seeing the posts in there and seeing how everyone helps each other, and yeah, it's just really incredible. And for the record, calling our kids bees, I didn't even start that. We obviously put the bee in the logo, and then somewhere along the way, some other random parent just started calling their child a bee, and then everyone else just adopted it. So I think it's so funny. Like, I never had that intention, but it's stuck. Okay, I think, are we questions now? Oh, okay. I guess now we will take questions.
Don't be shy.
Just curious about how you guys, so I have a hard time talking about Sadie like publicly or on social media, because I feel like this isn't always my stuff to share. So even like fundraising has been like a real challenge, because I just struggle with that. And so I'd be interested in hearing what your thoughts or your process has been.
I understand what you're saying, but it is your stuff to share. And it is your life too. But I know what you mean. But I guess, like yesterday, just own it.
Yeah.
Share what you feel comfortable with. If you don't want to share personal details, there are ways to fundraise without sharing her story too.
I think I try to approach it as, I'm definitely try to be very respectful that it is Lucy's story and Lucy's experience, and Lucy doesn't speak, so I can't ask her necessarily how she feels about me posting stuff, or ask her, hey, is it okay if I post this? So I try to not post like anything that would be embarrassing to a 13-year-old girl. I try to think, would I want my mom to post this about me? So I definitely share her successes, probably more than I share her hardships, because I don't always feel comfortable knowing that, like, maybe that's not. It's not that I want to hide it. I certainly don't want to hide it, but I wish I could get her permission to share stuff. But it might be different for me, because I can share more broadly other kids' stories, or just the general stories. So, I think you don't necessarily have to share Sadie's specific story. You could just say, kids with GRIN2B have all of these struggles. That's why we need to fundraise.
I guess the other thing is, in this climate in this country, I'm really scared to share anything about a disability, or making her vulnerable. She's already vulnerable in her personal life and the spaces that she's in, right? But with what's going on in this country, I am very nervous about identifying her as somebody with a disability.
I totally get that. But on the other hand, what's happening here is that we want to hide the people with special needs, and we want to pretend they're not worthy of life and they're not part of our society. And personally, I think we should step out of our comfort zone and we should show our amazing kids to the world, and we should prove to the world that they have every right and I don't know how to say it, but they have to be here. They are a part of our family, of our global family. They make us better people. And without them, the world wouldn't be the same. So we shouldn't hide them, we shouldn't put them away, and we should fight against these idiots. I have no other word for it.
Exactly. No, I look at it as raising that awareness could change people's minds. I've had people very close to our family say that I'm exploiting Hunter at times because he happens to every August or September is when he ends up in status and intubated in the hospital. And I will post that picture online, and it is scary and it's raw, but people need to know like what my day-to-day life is like every day. He had a seizure yesterday afternoon. Is he going to end up in the hospital each time? And we can't change that if people aren't aware of what's happening. So I guess that's how I make it okay with myself to exploit him because I want to be the change and make people see this is what our lives are like. How can we make it better?
I also think you have to give yourself credit for that you are still protecting her. Like, you are probably still doing a number of other things to protect her. Like, you might be putting her on social media, but she probably still has, like, an amazing IEP in school that's giving her amazing supports. And, like, as a parent, you're still you're still taking her out in the world and educating people that way. So it's not like you're doing one thing and then not doing anything else.
And you certainly don't have to fundraise. You're helping Sadie and the community just this weekend by helping volunteer. Just the work you did Thursday helping us helps the event, helps the community. It's just all part of that. And I mean, just in general, I guess to wrap up, maybe, do I have to wrap up? Yeah. I mean, in 2026, like, it's not okay that you should be having these feelings that you're scared for your child and you're scared that we're still fighting for the rights of disabled people to be seen as valid human beings. Like, that's not okay. And that sucks that we have to have these feelings, and that, you know, when we go out in public, people are going to stare at our kids. I mean, I know, and also, like, as to who is the one who said stare back, is that Zach? Yeah, that is what I do now. I used to like
that was Giselle.
Oh, that was Giselle.
Yeah,
I used to
back.
like just have like blinders on and just like not look at anyone so that I wouldn't see the stares. And now when they stare, I just stare back to make them uncomfortable. And I love it.
Yeah, I used to cry when somebody stared or made a rude remark about Charlotte. And now if somebody says something, I say something back. And I say, have you never seen a disabled person? Don't you understand this? That's your mistake, not ours.
I've gotten in a fight with a mom at soccer practice because her kids were, and she said, they're just kids. And I said, and you're just their mom who should teach them to do better.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take one more, and then we have to save this half day here. And I hate to be that bad person to stop the conversation. Yeah, let's take one more question.
I hate to be dragging it on. I'll try to make it quick. I'm realizing that I'm trying to psychologically prepare myself to go home and not be with all of you for a year. And I don't think I realized how disconnected I felt from my peers until I got a chance to be with all of you. So I'd like to know how to connect with the community beyond the Facebook group or outside of the Facebook group. I had a wonderful serendipitous opportunity to meet Evie in Hawaii. We happened to be on vacation in Hawaii and met her. She has 2 Bs. But otherwise, we're going back to our bubble. And I know you have the map on your website. Should families feel welcome to reach out to people based on where they are on the map, et cetera? How do you recommend connecting over the course of the year?
If anybody can message me on Facebook or email me, my email address is on the website. Thank you. And I
actually think it's not on the website.
It's not on the website. Maybe we should have someone who is in marketing update the website with
I've been a little busy.
But we will get it. And I can help connect families that live in the same areas. Basically reach out to me, and then I will say, also, if you go into the family support group, there is a search bar in the group. If you just put in your city, your state, you will see posts of people that have commented that, hey, we're from this area, hey, from this area. And it's a good way to find someone really fast of who's possibly in your state or area, especially if you're looking for like a resource for insurance type stuff, because every state is different. But if you're looking for someone local to you, that's a good way to find. I connected some families like in Denmark that way. So.
My role within GRIN Europe is the community liaison, so I love talking to families, I love talking to parents, so I'm always only a messenger message away, and I'd be happy to send you my email or my phone, and if you don't mind the time difference, I'm sure we can work something out.
Thank you, ladies. I'm so sorry that we went late and I think maybe lost a few minutes in this session, but we will hopefully do something like this again at the next one. But thank you to Aubrey and Jillian and Kristen for sharing.
All right. Yes, thank you very much. So just an announcement, we were scheduled to have a break here in about 5-ish minutes, about 9:35. Those things are still available, so if you want to grab something and then just come right back in, if that's okay. But we're going to keep going here so we can kind of make up the time, and that's all right. Like honestly, if to have this be the day that drifts, I'll take that as a win. So all good. One more round of applause, please. And again, like. These conversations don't have to stop just because this session ended. So please keep the conversations going throughout the day and beyond. And Aubrey is our family outreach coordinator. That's literally what she's here to do. So if any of you are feeling disconnected away from this Hive, please reach out to Aubrey and she can try to help that. Right? Okay, moving on. Our first presenter for the day, actually kind of our only presenter for the day now that I think about it. We have 2. Okay, yep, we have 2. Sorry about that. No, I got it. Sure? Yeah, okay. So, Be Informed, Part 2. We have a speaker that's going to come up and talk a little bit about gastrointestinal symptoms and some other issues that are common among individuals with GRIN2B. So please welcome to the stage Calliope Holinge. Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm just going to lower this a touch. It's really a pleasure to be here. I have met some of you, I think, at GRICon last year in Orlando. Raise your hand, Jillian, good to see you again. So just a few of you, wonderful. So as you heard, my name is Calliope. I am an assistant professor. I'm actually based here in the Baltimore area. I am at Kennedy Krieger Institute, which is a specialty outpatient hospital focused on children with various brain and spinal disorders. I'm specifically located in the Center for Autism, and in the last few years, I've increasingly gotten involved in the rare disease community. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my work in gastrointestinal symptoms in neurodevelopmental conditions, and then I'll touch on some of the GRIN2B specific qualitative work that occurred at GRICON, and I'll tell you a little bit about some upcoming research, and then I'm happy to connect with you afterwards as well. All right, so as I'm sure you all know, individuals with neurodevelopmental conditions tend to have very complex health needs. This population has a greater use of health services, more emergency department visits, hospitalizations, higher costs, and yet despite all of that, someone isn't feeling well, it's going to affect their participation in really all domains of life. It's going to affect their quality of life, their relationships. So I really see this as an essential thing to work on. GI symptoms in particular are one of the more common medical conditions or symptoms that we see in NDDs. So this first estimate, that first bullet there, is actually from an autism study, but it's similar to what we see in a lot of NDDs, where at least half of individuals with a particular NDD seem to have these, pretty chronic and sometimes disabling GI symptoms. Compared to neurotypical individuals, individuals with NDDs are about 4 times more likely to have GI symptoms, so it's quite frequent. And some of the more common symptoms include constipation, that's a huge one in this population, diarrhea and encopresis, abdominal pain, and reflux, though there are certainly lots of others. And in addition to these GI symptoms themselves being quite disabling, they often come with sort of a host of other correlates or co-occurring issues. So things like food intolerances, toileting difficulties, sleep challenges, often very dysregulated behavior because of GI pain. Sometimes epilepsy, which can be exacerbated by things like an impaction, and then of course emergency department use. And this is just sort of reiterating the impact that these symptoms can have. So in terms of the quality of life of an individual, causing unpredictability, pain, affecting the ability to go out and participate in the world. It can affect diet, what they're able to eat or what they want to eat, employment and schooling, and then of course real impacts on the family as well in terms of sort of the overall well-being and temperament of the household, the mental health of parents, ability of the family to go out together, finances. I'm sure all of this, it is not new to you. The next couple quotes are from some qualitative interviews in the autism community. This is part of a couple studies in which we interviewed parents of autistic children, or in some cases we interviewed autistic adults if they were able to participate, specifically about their experience having these GI symptoms. This is a quote from a parent of an autistic adult. And they shared, when the stomach hurts, there's an almost immediate physical reaction. She could scream, she could throw things, and after she calms down, then she tells us, my tummy hurts. Every time the police had to come out because she was being really destructive, first thing she would say as she regained her composure was, my tummy hurts. This is a heartbreaking quote, I think, but I like to share it because I think, first of all, it highlights the impact that these symptoms can have, and it also emphasizes the difficulty that caregivers often have in recognizing when their child is having things like GI symptoms. Often it escalates to the point where behavior is happening, and it's not till later that you realize oh, okay, this is what was driving it. So that's a couple of the reasons why I share this. And then this is a quote from an autistic adult sharing, I don't know if I'll be able to hold down a full-time job or not. Will I ever be able to date or do anything? And this young man was speaking specifically about his GI symptoms and how he didn't know that he'd ever be able to do these things, not because of his autism, but because of his GI symptoms. So they were very impactful. As I'm sure you have all experienced, healthcare can be a serious obstacle that sort of compounds the difficulties of having these GI symptoms. So often we see there's a shortage of trained or confident providers. The approach to treating GI issues in this population is not always clear. There can be communication challenges between the patient and the clinician, diagnostic overshadowing where patients or families are GRIN2B. This is just part of autism. This is probably due to their anxiety, So it's sort of attributed to something else and not taken seriously. And then healthcare settings are often not conducive to autistic individuals and other folks with NDDs because of sort of this overwhelming sensory environment and things like that. This is another quote from those studies. The parent sharing, "A lot of physicians seem uninterested. It's sort of like, your child has autism, this goes with it." So I just want to touch on a study. This was another autism study looking specifically at autistic adults with GI symptoms. And in brief, what we did is we interviewed autistic adults, and in some cases their parents. If they weren't able to participate in the interview, we asked them about their lived experience with GI issues, and then we used that to develop a set of recommendations for what the field can do to better support this population. And not all of these may be as relevant to individuals with GRI conditions, but I do think some of them are very applicable, in particular the need for healthcare provider trainings, for providers to feel more confident and comfortable and equipped to evaluate and treat this population. Sometimes anxiety interventions, because we do know there is this really tight link between anxiety and other somatic symptoms like GI issues. So if we're able to tackle the anxiety, sometimes that can improve things like GI symptoms. And this last one, number 5, is a little bit broad. Care coordination model is what I've titled it, but the need for care to be integrated and coordinated, for parents not to have to go to a million different places in order to coordinate the care of their child. Another important thing to touch on, which I've alluded to a little bit with one of the quotes, is the challenges of assessing GI symptoms in these individuals. So what we found from the literature is there's a really wide range of GI symptom estimates. And this is partially reflecting sort of that heterogeneity that we see in individuals with MDDs, but it's also reflecting the various measurement challenges that we have. And what I mean by that is there is often not a standard way of assessing GI symptoms in individuals. The questionnaires and the measures that are developed, for the neurotypical population simply don't work in kids that have, GRIN2B, for example. And there are a few reasons for that. One is that this population may have deficits in interoception, so trouble sort of recognizing in their body. Often communication and language impairments. So if someone is able to feel like, okay, my belly hurts, they may have difficulty conveying that to a parent. And then, of course, intellectual disability can make this more challenging as well. So I just wanted to highlight a few of the efforts that have been underway to work on this. This is a study by Kara Margolis. She is now at NYU. She's a gastroenterologist that specializes in patients with neurodevelopmental conditions. So I definitely encourage you to check out her work. And this is a study that came out a few years ago with Dr. Tim Bowie, who's at Boston Children's, I believe. He's another one of those sort of big names in the GI NDD space. And so this was sort of one attempt at developing a parent report screener for common GI disorders in autism. And a lot of the items there are going to be relevant for this community as well. We have also developed our own GI symptom inventory, and we're now expanding it to other conditions, including GRIN2B, Phelan-McDermid syndrome, ASXL, in order to be as inclusive as possible of the NDD population. And importantly, the thing I just want to highlight here is instead of relying on asking about subjective symptoms, we try to incorporate objective signs of GI symptoms as much as possible. So things like motor behaviors or sometimes vocal behaviors, sleep challenges, we try to ask about those things, and we're trying to understand how those are tied to GI symptoms. So hopefully we can do a better job of picking up on those GI symptoms and getting folks treated and evaluated more quickly. Another study, and you may have heard about this because we're going to be recruiting in the Greek community pretty soon, is a GI motility and a phone app study. This is a large collaboration with the lovely folks you see on the screen here. In brief, what our team has done is sort of two different things. First is we've developed a phone app called the Stripes app, which caregivers can use to sort of do live tracking of their child's GI symptoms, bowel movements, as well as any other sort of symptoms that occur during the day in order to get some good data behind that. And that app has been refined with the NDD community, including the Greek community. So we're trying to be as responsive as possible to the needs of your families. And then the other piece is a gastric motility study in which we know that GI motility can be a very significant driver of GI symptoms in this population. But the traditional approaches of assessing for GI motility in the typical population are often just not feasible in individuals with rare diseases. And so what we've done is we actually use a blue muffin. So this is a muffin with a standardized recipe. It's gluten-free. We put blue food coloring in it, and we have the individual with the condition, so in this case the GRIN2B, consume 2 of those muffins, and we have the caregiver actually track the blue coloring in their child's stool over time, and it gives us an objective measure of how that transit is working. So we have done some of the pilot studies. We're in the middle of doing it right now with the Phelan-McDermid syndrome population. We're going to be doing it with the GRI population later this year. One part of our study is also doing this in individuals with feeding tubes because that's never been done before. We want to make sure to include that population. And so in that case, it's not a blue muffin, but it's just the blue food coloring. So feel free to talk to me more about this if you're interested, and I can give you more information. But that's another way that we're trying to get a better sense of what is going on in the GI system. And then in brief, I'll just say there are a lot of potential mechanisms at play. I like to always point out that things like diet, anxiety, medications that, kids and adults take may potentially impact the GI system. So that can always be a driver. But then we know there are things like the gut-brain axis dysfunction, dysmotility, as I've just mentioned, issues with the immune system, the gut microbiome. So there's an important need for etiologic research to really understand what is driving these symptoms. So now I'm going to shift to talking about the study that is in GRIN2B specifically. So we were very fortunate to receive a pilot grant from CureGrin a few years ago. And there are multiple aims to this study. I won't read all of this to you. One of the main parts is that blue muffin study I just told you about. There's also some zebrafish work by one of the PIs, Dr. Julia Dahlman at University of Miami. This is looking at a zebrafish model of GRIN2B and looking at how GI motility is affected. And the work that I want to share with you today is that first bolded statement characterizing lived experiences of GI symptoms in GRIN2B-related neurodevelopmental disorder through qualitative interviews with patients and families. So as I mentioned, I was at GRICon last year. That was my first GRICon. And we conducted focus groups with GRIN2B families. We were asking sort of about 2 things. One, about experiences with GI symptoms, And 2, we were exploring interest in that mobile app that I told you about, and we were trying to get a better sense of what the needs of these families are. And then lastly, introducing the community to that Blue Meal motility study because we were starting to recruit for it. So we recruited 11 parents that took part in one of 2 focus groups at the conference. The eligibility was simply that their child needed to have a GRIN2B diagnosis. There were no restrictions on anything else like GI history or age. We transcribed the interviews. We analyzed it using something called thematic analysis, which just means we look for the major themes that come from the data. And just for your reference, the age of the GRIN2B individuals ranged from 5 years old to the late 30s. So what I'm going to highlight next are the major qualitative findings. These aren't all of them. These were sort of the ones that I felt like I had the time to talk about, and some of the ones that I felt were most salient. So the first one, and this will be no surprise to you, is that constipation was one of the dominant symptoms affecting the GRIN2B community. So this first parent shared, twice a day I'll call the day home, and see what the bowel pattern is. We go small, medium, large, and then consistency. And I will instruct them sometimes to give less or give more Miralax, but every day she gets a suppository and every day she gets a Miralax. So really speaking to like this ongoing need to monitor bowel movements and give medications to keep things as regular as possible. This next parent said it would get to the point where we would need to do an enema or something like that, and then he was hospitalized with the impaction. We had to have it surgically done. And it was after that second one that the GI doctor that we were seeing at the time recommended the Dulcolax as well daily because they did motility studies and said that's fine. So here this quote is really speaking to sort of the level that these can get, the impaction, the need to be hospitalized, and then again, this ongoing need to keep these bowel movements as regular as possible. Another one of the key symptoms were reflux and vomiting. So this first parent shared, as a baby, he had a lot of reflux. So he probably went on a reflux med at 2 or 3 months old. He was breastfed for the first year, but it was a lot of the reflux struggle. And this is something we heard from many families, is these reflux issues started very early in the GRIN2B community. I see a couple people smiling. Maybe you've had this experience as well. This next parent said because her food would sit there, it would get rancid and it would come back up. She had severe delayed gastric emptying, so it wasn't going where it needed to be, and then it would sit in her stomach instead of traveling, and then she would throw it up. So she wasn't gaining weight. We had to have another surgery. It was a pyloromyotomy, something which kept her valve closed so she physically cannot vomit. Another important theme, and again, I'm sure this is going to be familiar to some of you, is this intersection between the neurological system and the GI system. So this could be sort of confusion about when is this a neurological issue, when is this a GI issue, one sort of affecting the other, GI symptoms manifesting as sort of severe neurological or behavioral issues. This first parent shared, my daughter, we didn't recognize it, but she would try to get poop out herself with her fingers. We used to call it Picasso because she was very artistic. Anyway, we really had to come to a head, actually. She probably, in retrospect, had a chronic impaction, and I have a story about her impaction that led to seizures, that when she was disimpacted, she had no seizures. So again, showing the degree to which these symptoms can get 5 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna talk faster. Thank you. The next one, if her belly hurts or if she has to poop, she'll bite herself, she'll bite you, she loves to pull hair. This was an issue in school, a lot of self-injurious behavior coming up. Again, communication barriers in symptom assessment. So this first parent saying, when I know he hasn't had a bowel movement and he's doing that, he's angry hitting, he's angry patting, rocking back and forth, he turns into the Hulk, really, really irritable and not happy. This next parent is saying, sometimes their child will say poop when she feels like she has to poop or she's already done it. Poop could be urine or stool. So she will communicate that. Behaviorally, she'll get quiet. She's not active and she wants to lie around. Again, this repeated theme of inadequate healthcare support. So, this parent saying it took them forever to even do the constipation. Physicians saying things like, oh, these are just problems that he has as long as he's gaining sufficient weight. There's not necessarily anything that's wrong that needs to be treated. This other parent saying, they're not looking what's causing it. If you have very low muscle tone, your bowel isn't going to be working. They don't take the GRIN or whatever it's going to be. They don't take that into account. And of course, as you can imagine, this has considerable impacts on the person with the GRIN2B as well as the family. So this family saying, a good day for her is everything that's just regular and she's happy. A bad day, she won't stop screaming. The bad days are way less now that we have everything situated, but it was constant. You couldn't take her out in public. You couldn't ask anyone to watch her. You were just there listening to her screaming. And this next parent saying that, she and her spouse would have serious arguments over whether or not she had pooped and what it looked like and that sort of thing, so causing a lot of family issues. I made it to the last slide, you guys. I won't read this all out, but in brief, GI symptoms, particularly constipation, reflux vomiting, these issues emerged early in life. They often required intensive daily management. Constipation was not only a GI concern, but it was linked to a whole bunch of other things, including behavior. Many individuals were nonverbal or had limited verbal communication, and so families relied on a lot of different things to try to figure out when their child was having GI symptoms or pain. Families often experienced, great difficulties in terms of the healthcare experience, in terms of getting these symptoms recognized, in terms of the care coordination. And so in sum, it really highlights the need for GRIN2B informed GI care, practical symptom monitoring tools, and clear clinical guidance for these issues. So thank you for listening. Again, really happy to talk to you guys after and help connect you with some of the research that we're doing. And these are my funders and references, and I'm happy to share those slides if you'd like. Yeah, okay.
Are you aware of any gastric emptying testing that's done with sedation? Because Hunter won't sit still, and you're talking about GI, GRIN specific, so it seems to be kind of related to seizures. Sometimes he has vomiting with seizures before seizure, sometimes after seizure.
Yeah.
But sometimes I can see that he's vomiting up stuff he had from 2 or 30 hours ago. So I don't know if it's neuro-related or... Yeah. So I keep getting passed from healthcare, well, ask this doctor, and I'm like, okay, he's not going to lay still for a gastric emptying test.
Where are you located geographically?
Northern Indiana.
Oh, I have the perfect person to refer you to. Hey, okay. Dr. William Bennett.
Okay.
He's at Indiana University. He's a pediatric gastroenterologist that focuses on individuals with NDDs. He has a daughter with Phelan-McDermid syndrome, so he's very much connected to the community. So let's touch base, and I can give you his information. I'm not a clinician, and I'm obviously not sure what's going on with your kid, but he would be the best person to talk to. Yeah, of course.
Other potential questions?
It's more of just thank you for putting this together, and because this is something that we deal with, and I've always said to the teachers at school, oh, she's constipated. When we see this uptick in behaviors and anger and all of this, and so often they're looking at it through a different lens, and to have something that says we're not crazy and we're not making it up or making excuses, that even the two of us at sometimes are oh wait, we know what it is, because we're not, now that she's older, we're not so on top of everything.
Right, sure.
But so thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
have you seen evidence of any more like acute issues like ulcers, or like we have a history of ulcers and bowel perforation, like more emergency type issues?
I don't know the answer to that question. I can look into it or connect you with a clinician. In terms of the perforations, like if it's related to a constipation issue, I could see that as being sort of a more common acute issue. The ulcers, I'm not sure about specifically. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious if you're planning to publish any research on GRIN2B specifically, because I think you saw us nodding with our son when he was a baby. He had to go on reflux meds, and I was like, wow, it would have been great to know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just curious what your plans are for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the qualitative findings that I shared, we're in the process of writing those up right now. So our hope is to have that submitted for publication very soon. And then the motility study in GRIN2B specifically, that's going to take a little bit more time because we still have to collect that data. But absolutely, everything that we're doing, we're planning to publish. Yeah.
Just a quick question. This was so helpful. Thank you so much. Do they have like any like published or like brain thoughts of like what the best like treatment options would be like for like motility and things like that? Because I know we've talked to some of our doctors, but it's not always like clear cut. Like once we identify the problem, there's not like a lot of clear recommendations. We've had to like switch to a couple of different GI docs to try to find one who will actually like prescribe or like do things.
Yeah, so the way I've heard it just described by Dr. Bennett, actually, the person that I was just mentioning, is they're mushers and they're pushers in terms of the GI meds. And so you need both, often because of issues of hypotonia and sort of this gut-brain disconnect. So my understanding of the sort of treatment recommendations is you find a medicine that both does sort of the mushing, but also something that ideally keeps pushing through, so that if that muscle tone is absent, things keep going. And there are some, I think, newer medications that do both. The challenge with a lot of these medication studies is individuals with GRIN2B are often not included in these studies. So there are some trials underway specifically looking at constipation medicine, for example, in NDD populations to try to get better answers as to what is most effective and the dosing and things like that. But let's connect afterwards, and I can also send you a set of slides which has some more information that maybe you could share with your physician. Thank you so much. Yeah, of course.
I can take. That's fine. There's 2 more questions, so we'll knock them out. Why not? Because I can't make that choice.
Hi, we're actually part of the KKI community, so Alicia sees Dr. Shaken.
Okay.
But no one has ever referred us to GI, and we've seen a lot of aggressive behaviors, and we've been doing medication management. So I'm now understanding more how the gut has a lot to do with that. I wanted to see, how do I make an appointment with you guys, or do I need a referral from Dr.
Yeah,
Shaken?
so at Kennedy Krieger, my understanding is they refer to Hopkins for the GI issues. I don't think there is a medical doctor at Kennedy who specializes in the GI issues. I wish there was. I would like to try to make it happen because I think it's a huge issue. But typically they will refer to Hopkins or Children's National or sometimes like Mount Washington.
I work for Hopkins.
Oh, okay.
Is there a specific doctor that you know at Hopkins that I should look for?
I unfortunately don't. This is a big frustration and embarrassment of mine. I don't have a great person to connect you with. But I do have some names. They don't specialize in the NDD population specifically, but some patients have said that they've had good experiences with those providers. So I could share those names with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
My question is very quick. What was the name of the app that you guys developed again?
Yeah, it's called the Stripes app, STRIPES, and the I is lowercase. That shouldn't matter when you're searching for it. And it is on both the Android and Apple stores. So you should be able to find it. and we're constantly updating it. So, yeah, that's right. There are zebra stripes on it. Yep. Yep. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. And again, we did kind of blow through that break, but there are some cookies and goodies that are next door. So again, feel free to grab and go. I want to take just a moment before we move to our last speaker. I want to give a shout out to our care providers. I'm going to speak for myself. I think they've been absolutely phenomenal. So round of applause for Jovi. We know how hard it is to get our kids here for weekends like this, and having them to be a resource to help with our kids so that we can be in here is phenomenal. Speaking for myself, Lucy's been just great, so it's been nice to be able to run around and do what needs to be done here, knowing that they're great. And then also, I did find out they are a national organization, so if you are a person that struggles finding child care and babysitters and things of that nature, you can look up Jovi, and I'll leave this somewhere, but talk to them. So you can call or text, and they are a nationwide company. So, if these group of amazing people are any indication, maybe this is something you can use as a resource closer to where you are at home. All right. Next, we're going to talk from Caregiver to Changemaker, practical advocacy for GRIN2B families. I'd like to welcome to the stage Ms. Shannon Van Velden. She's the Vice President of Advocacy for the Every Life Foundation for Rare Disease.
All right, I'm a little short. Does this? I'll move this a little. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's moments like this where I wish I was quicker on my feet, where I could come up with something to transition us from bowel movements to, politics and government, because I'm sure that there's something quippy someone more clever would have come up with. But thank you so much for having me, and you guys are so lucky to have Alyssa, who I know is an amazing advocate and mentor and guide for the rare disease community. So thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm going to try and stay on time for you guys. So if you're not familiar with the Every Life Foundation for Rare Diseases, we're about 16, 17 years old as a foundation. We're solely a policy and advocacy organization for the rare disease community, and our focus is on improving health outcomes through evidence-based policy, leading science-driven policy and regulatory research, activating the community to advocate, and strengthening the rare disease community. And we do this in several ways. Through policy and advocacy, and our advocacy arm is through our Rare Disease Legislative Advocates program. And our real aim is to support advocates in the rare disease community to impact policy and make sure that their voices are heard. So today, talking to Alyssa, our main goals for this session, one is to share more about what the patient voice in drug development means and where and when that can happen, some policy highlights that hopefully are applicable to your community, touching on legislative advocacy, and then a short creating your own advocacy plan. So hopefully we can do that in the next 20, 25 minutes or so. So we're all part of a larger healthcare ecosystem as patients, as caregivers, and all the parts are vital to ensuring that healthcare is delivered to patients. And there has been, over the last decade or so, 2 decades, there's been a real transition in the system to view patients, instead of being the end user, the consumer of the treatments and drugs that are developed, to really be at the center of this ecosystem and to be considered throughout the process. And for patients to move into that center of the ecosystem, we needed data, we needed more information. And so the Every Life Foundation, has really been driving this effort to get more data for the community. We can't amplify awareness, increase funding, drive research, incentivize the development of treatments without this data. And we have established through a lot of our efforts rare diseases as a public health crisis that's deserving of the resources of larger, more well-known conditions. And this represents the continuum from the start of an idea for a treatment through the research, clinical trials, and approval to getting a product in the hands of actual patients. So we spend a lot of time thinking in this model on the left-hand side as patient communities. You know, we're thinking about the research, we're thinking about the clinical trials, we're trying to get FDA to approve these treatments. And because of the risk it takes to develop a new treatment, it takes 15 years and costs $1 billion. And this is just too long and too much money. And it doesn't work for rare diseases. As we know, we're talking about much smaller populations where drug companies are going to make less on developing those treatments, theoretically. And we as patients are getting a little bit more savvy about, what it takes to get the approvals. And we're moving more towards being prepared to talk to providers and payers on the right-hand side to make sure that patients are going to be able to access the treatments once they're approved. So in patient-focused drug development, this is an approach to therapy development that centers the patient experiences, perspectives, needs, and priorities. This is what the patient-focused drug development movement is all about. This is where patients can be part of the drug development process. And FDA has really learned that this is a vital part of the process. They need patients to help solve the problems that FDA is looking at to make sure that they're able to approve treatments and meet the needs of patient communities. So the patient-focused drug development ensures that patients and caregiver perspectives, experiences, and priorities are integrated early and often during the medical product development. And this is critical in rare diseases, where that traditional expertise and published data might be limited. So patient perspectives have led to the identification of outcomes and endpoints in clinical trials that reflect what the patients see as meaningful change, not just clinical or regulatory assumptions. So in the rare disease community, we talk a lot about how the 6-minute walk test is not a great endpoint for a lot of rare diseases as an endpoint. You might hear about biomarkers being used to measure the effectiveness of treatments for an FDA approval, for instance. And PFDD guides companies to develop patient-centered trials, provide therapy reviewers with more insight to align that regulatory decision with the patient needs, and risk for tolerance. This is something we also talk a lot about in the rare disease community, is that a lot of patients are willing to take on more risk because there's so much more on the line than maybe other patient communities would be willing to put on. And this is where that patient perspective for FDA is so important. So this increases the likelihood of new therapies, will address those unmet needs, be acceptable to patients, and succeed in clinical trials. Now this is, and I was going to skip this slide, so. And so you can make your voice heard through the patient-focused drug development process and help the FDA decision-making and help FDA better understand the types of benefits and risks that matter most for patients. I was also going to skip that one. So there are different mechanisms, formal mechanisms for patients to be involved in that patient-focused drug development. So patient-focused drug development was actually formalized and created in 2012 with PDUFA 5, the Prescription Drug User Fee Act that gets reauthorized by Congress every 5 years. And that really created those PFDD meetings that you might have heard about. And since 2012, patient advocacy organizations in collaboration with FDA have held over 100 of those meetings. So FDA-led PFDD meetings are rare disease specific meetings organized by the FDA to gather patients and patient and caregiving perspectives on living with a particular condition and treatment needs. And then there are externally led PFDD meetings, and those are organized by patient organizations and other stakeholders, and often FDA staff participates in those meetings. There is also, so those are more formal meetings that are organized. They're usually in a big hotel conference center or such. Then there are patient listening sessions, and those are really informal, accessible conversations between patients and FDA staff that allow individuals to share their experiences directly with the regulators at FDA. And these are not part of a formal regulatory process, but they help FDA better understand patient perspectives. And anyone can request a patient listening session. So you can do that through your organization or as individuals. So that's really nice to know that you don't have to organize like a huge PFDD meeting in order to have your voice heard with FDA. There's also, I think, I don't know if patients know this, but any meeting that industry has with FDA, so any biopharmaceutical company, pharmaceutical company that is meeting with FDA on potential treatments, drugs that they're developing, they can invite patients to those meetings. So some take advantage of that and some don't, but that's important to know when and if you're working with industry members, that they can invite you to those meetings to provide that patient perspective during their meetings with FDA too. So beyond those PFDD initiative mechanisms, there are other ways for patients to be involved. Of course, there's policy forums, public hearings, engagement opportunities, but more specifically, there are within our government agencies some opportunities just to make you aware. So there's the FDA Patient Engagement Advisory Committee. It's great that the advisory committees are starting to meet again. As you might know, that those were paused for a while. I believe just this week they held two, one on Duchenne, and I can't remember what the other group was, but they are meeting, and those are comprised entirely of patients, caregivers, and advocates. And they advise on medical devices, clinical trials, and patient-centered outcomes, and it's the clearest pathways for lived experience input into regulatory decisions. There's other FDA advisory committees where patients or caregivers might sit on those committees, and they might have like a voting role or temporary members on drug device advisory committees. Those nominations are accepted on a rolling basis. Their FDA creates public notices, and anyone is free to apply, and including self-nominations. There's also NIH advisory groups, includes the advisory committee to the director, and then institute-specific councils. So for instance, NCADS, that we see as kind of the home of rare diseases at NIH, they have their own advisory committee where they seek out patients and caregivers to sit on that committee as well. And then NCI advisory boards provide input on research priorities, national cancer programs, and clinical trials. So those are some of the formal roles within PFDD that might be of interest to you. We do have a guide on patient-focused drug development called Guide to Patient Involvement in Rare Disease Therapy Development. And we collaborated with BIO, the National Health Council, and Pharma to convene 4 different work groups to consider how the guidances related to patient-focused drug development that were written and created by FDA, how these guidances applied across the life cycle stages of medical product development. And it's a great resource for all stakeholders, patients, caregivers, industry members, the medical community, anyone who's involved, to just get a better understanding of how they can engage in the process. And it basically starts from preclinical trials all the way through the access environment. So you can find this on our website under our resources. So I know I'm going to jump from that patient-focused drug development, the regulatory side of things, to policy and advocacy. Alyssa asked me to do a quick little policy highlights for you all, just to see what might be of interest and impact to your communities. First of all, the Every Life Foundation, we have a community congress that is our membership program that its members are patient organizations and industry members and some other stakeholders. And they really inform our policy priorities as a foundation. And so this is what we call our policy grid. And this just shows where the Every Life Foundation's priorities lie. And it's not necessarily reflective of our stance on certain bills, but more what our team is concentrating on and where our efforts in the health policy ecosystem are going into. And so there's different categories. And I'm going to highlight a few of these for you all today. So the first is the Credit for Caring Act, and this is a bill that we have worked with the community on. If you were at Rare Disease Week this past year, this was one of the bills that we spoke about at Rare Disease Week and met with members on. So as you know, the stress and strain on caregivers is real, both emotionally, mentally, time, physically, financially, and almost 1 in 4 adults consider themselves to be a caregiver in the United States, and almost 80% of these people spend, on average, over $7,000 a year on care-related costs. So for many people, this is 25% of their income. And the Credit for Caring Act would help by allowing some families to receive a tax credit for out-of-pocket expenses related to caregiving up to a certain amount. So the Credit for Caregiving Act would offset the costs of caregiving. Eligible families would receive this benefit in the form of a tax credit, which would be about 30% of the qualified expenses paid above $2,000 up to $5,000. So there are some limitations to the bill, like those with higher incomes would not be eligible, but unlike the existing child and dependent care credit, this bill would help family caregivers who care for non-dependents or who do not live with the person that they assist. So it provides a little bit different of a benefit for caregivers. And then, of course, delayed diagnosis is such a barrier for children with rare diseases. Many times, because the diagnostic odyssey can be so long, they miss therapeutic windows and then have fewer treatment options available once they finally receive their diagnosis. And what we have found through our economic burden of rare diseases study that we published a few years ago, the economic impact of that delayed diagnosis is up to $517,000 per patient. So that is significant for families who are looking for a diagnosis or have received a diagnosis late. So this slide illustrates and highlights the lack of coverage for certain services. When genomic testing is done, it's often limited, and there is a patchwork of covered services depending on where you live. So one solution that we are working on, the Every Life Foundation, as well as others in the rare disease community, is the Genomic Answers for Children's Health Act. And this addresses a critical need. Even though genomic testing provides really essential, significant answers for people within the rare disease community and other communities, not every Medicaid program is covering genomic tests uniformly, which is leading to delays in diagnosis and treatment. So this policy proposal would ensure that the regulations are clear to Medicaid coverage of genetic testing and ensure that everyone in the process is aware of the changes. So it makes sure that Medicaid is covering those services as they should be. Another issue, we've already heard about genetic counselors a little bit, but another solution is the Access to Genetic Counselor Services Act that we are working on. So it's not the same as ensuring that genetic testing is covered and available for those who need it, but having genetic counselors who are available across the country, who are being reimbursed for their services, ensures that we have genetic counselors for those who need them after genetic testing. So people are often on lengthy wait lists because genetic counselors aren't able to be independently reimbursed as providers. And so solving this problem would help people get access to those services. And then lastly, shifting from access and care and diagnostics back to regulatory. The Scientific Expert Act is also a bill that we are working on, and it's related back to those patient-focused drug development initiatives. FDA cannot be expected to have expertise on every single rare disease. There are over 10,000 rare diseases, and FDA has a lot of staff, but not enough to be able to house that expertise in-house at FDA. So the Scientific Expert Act would create an opportunity for stakeholders to discuss drug development considerations with FDA staff through a variety of meetings and other opportunities. This does not replace patient-focused drug development, but it adds on to a scientific-focused drug development that would focus on medical and scientific experts. So it's in addition, so being able to get that patient perspective and experience and expertise, and in addition, the scientific and medical community knowledge and expertise into a more formalized process, such as these science-focused meetings, so that they can openly discuss the issues in drug testing methods, clinical trial designs, disease markers, and bring them all to the table at FDA. And so those are some of the policy issues that we are working on that I thought would be of most interest to you all. Perfect, we can do this. So moving into advocacy, which is my bread and butter and what I do at the Every Life Foundation. Who has ever met with a legislator, like Congress, their state legislature? Perfect, okay, so starting at the beginning, advocacy is any activity by a person, group of people that want to influence or change decisions made by the people in power, those who make our laws. And no one can do that better than patients. I always tell patients and caregivers, you do not need to be experts in policy. So those bills that I just shared with you, It's great to know. You don't need to be experts in policy. You don't need to be experts in political legislative process. You're an expert in your story, and that's what's most important. Why I share this legislative process slide for people is because I don't think most people realize there are so many points at which having your voice heard can make a huge difference. So from before a bill is even introduced, after it's introduced, during the committee process, before it gets to a House or Senate floor, if a House and Senate both pass bills, but they're different bills and they have to do a conference committee to iron out those differences and compromise, all of those points are points at which advocates can make a difference by making sure that they're sharing their experiences, they're sharing their priorities, they're sharing what's important to them in their communities. So there are so many different types of advocacy, and I really stress, especially with patients, family members, that you do what you can, right? You don't need to be on the Hill every month. You don't need to be being interviewed by your local news if that's not something you're comfortable, that's not your jam, right? I always tell people to think of what their strengths are, their interests are, and find how to do advocacy using those skills. So there are so many different ways that you can be an advocate. Some that take very little time, like calling the office when Alyssa says, hey, this bill's really important to our community. You guys should call your senators and your representative. That takes 5-10 minutes talking to a staff assistant, and they're going to share that message with their boss. Sending an email. You can also attend events in your home district. You don't have to come to DC. They hold town halls. They meet with their constituents in their offices in the district. They have round tables. My council member, I live in DC, so our council members are kind of like our state representatives. Mine does a coffee chat once a month, and you can go and just talk to them about your garbage not being picked up. That's what they're there for. And you can use social media. Social media is a great advocacy tool, especially when you're tagging other stakeholders. And then, of course, meeting with your lawmakers in person. This is a dated survey that was done of congressional staff, but is still relevant. So in 2015, I believe, they asked congressional staff what type of contacts from your constituents had the most impact on the decisions that your office was making. And at the top is in-person visits from constituents. Going, seeing your members really does make a big difference. Putting a face to a story can make all the difference. Building those relationships with the staff and the member is critical. So when should you advocate? Of course, there are times where we just don't have the time, we don't have the energy. But I say anytime and all the time, because you don't want to miss out on that opportunity to make.
We actually have some extra snacks and food. So it's Smart Pop popcorn and some Costco Kirkland brand little individual trail mixes. So if you are going to do the zoo trip and you want to grab some, or if you've got a flight later, feel free to grab some. If you are a local family and you know that you would be able to use those things, take the whole box, because that's just one less thing that we got to ship and deal with ourselves. So just want you to know those are on the table as well as you walk out. Okay, so to try to put a bow on all of this and give you all some opportunities to ask questions, I'm going to welcome one more time Liz.
Who woohooed me? Oh, thanks, Quinn. All right. Before the questions, there we go. Before the questions, Alyssa actually just reminded me of something that we're doing that correlates to everything Shannon was just talking about and advocating. I mentioned it briefly yesterday that we are going to host a FDA listening session about GRIN genes. So we'll be talking about GRIN1, GRIN2A, GRIN2B, GRIN2D, and I realized that might mean nothing to you. What's an FDA listening session? I'm going to tell you what Google AI says. It allows patients, caregivers, and advocates to share their lived experiences directly with FDA staff. So we have pre-selected 2 parents from each of the 4 GRIN genes that have different sets of symptoms, so that we're covering the whole spectrum of symptoms, to talk about their child with GRIN. And the purpose of this is to educate the FDA. The FDA is the one who's going to approve clinical trials. So GRIN Therapeutics, the Beeline trial that started this year, we thought it was going to start many years ago, and it was delayed because the FDA kept coming back to them with different things they wanted them to do, different protocols they wanted them to follow. So we need the FDA to understand our needs if they're going to be approving clinical trials. So that's why it's really important that we do that. So, and I believe when we actually have the meeting, it'll be recorded, and I think we'll be able to share it. I'm not 100%. Does that sound right, Quinn? She's nodding, so that sounds good. Just in case if it's interesting and you want to know. All right, so now let's wrap things up. So this is the word cloud that you guys created yesterday about the one word that resonated with you. I'm not really sure why 2 of those are in blue, but oh, maybe, yeah. But obviously, just stare back is a good one. I love that one. And of course, communities in the middle. But yeah, I'm glad that these are all positive things. So that's good. I was just seeing if there's any bad words in there. Okay. So that's good. Nothing bad stuck out to you? Good. All right. So thank you guys for doing that exercise. And as I said, I was going to come back to this. So yes, the Q&A is starting with me asking you a question. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? And don't mean to put you all on the spot. You guys don't have to actually answer this unless you really, really want to. Maybe you had a great idea. So does anyone want to share? Or feel free to talk to us afterwards, one-on-one. So either tell us what you want to do, or ask a question.
No idea if I'm going to succeed at it.
Oh, let's get the mic.
It's a pretty wild dream. No, I have no idea if I'm ever going to succeed at it, but as I said, I used to be a tax advisor, so financial services. And what I really would like to do, if everything goes according to plan, Charlotte will be leaving basically to college in January of this year, so she will be on campus during the week. And I would really like to work at a hospital and help other parents with rare genetic disorders, chronic illnesses, to navigate this part, provide support to them. And I'm planning, once Charlotte is at Spelderholt, that's the academy that she's going to contact Danielle about that and see if there are perhaps opportunities in the Erasmus.
That's amazing. Yeah. And that is like the perfect job for you.
I'm actually going to go ahead and chime in. It's not something I'm going to start doing, but it's something that I've been able to do because of Lucy and because of being a rare disease father. I'm a school teacher, and so I don't have a degree in special education. But probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was approached by my boss to ask if I would take over a class because a teacher was retiring, and it was her brainchild, and it was called Theater Communications. And essentially what that class is it takes mild to moderately disabled children, puts them into a class with neurotypical peers. Ideally, it's a 1-to-1 ratio of neurotypical peers to disabled students, and they learn social skills and communication skills through theater and games. And I got to teach that class for 3 years, and it was just the highlight of my day. And it was awesome to get to know all of those students and to make them more visible within our school community, because a lot of times, I can only speak, from my own school community, but I will say it's getting better. But so oftentimes I feel like the disabled students are made invisible in the larger school community. And that class kind of directly tried to combat that. And it was also such a pleasure to educate neurotypical peers. So, getting them to sign up for the class, and some of the students that I've taught in my other classes, like, oh, Mr. Ash, I don't know. And I was like, no, you're going to be great for this. And then 2 weeks later, they come back and they're like, this is like the best class I've ever taken, because they make friendships and they get to just hang out with people they don't get to hang out with. And so that's been a true blessing for me personally.
But does that class not exist anymore, Phil?
No, it does exist.
Okay.
It's existed and sort of expanded a little bit. Unfortunately, I'm no longer teaching it because my other course load sort of got bigger, but it is still being taught.
Oh, okay.
And there's other things like all-in music classes. It started with all-in choir, but then we realized, well, what about the nonverbal kiddos? And then it became just a music class. And so there's also a media course that's being developed as well. So we're expanding those opportunities, and yeah, it's really exciting.
I need to talk about it to you later because we have an autistic theater camp I want to pick your brain about. One of the things that I'm really excited about is, from a scientist perspective, is that funding is at a critical point, and I know you all are doing so much. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do is tell the NIH about what our needs are. So I think that there's still a couple more days left on the open OMB feedback session, and I've already submitted some very pointed and strongly worded needs of the community, but I don't think I had the family face on it in the same way. So I'm really inspired by talking to everyone and seeing you all this weekend to make sure to go back in and make sure that it's not just the science side, but I'm really kind of emphasizing the impact on families that I think that cutting funding would have, particularly because we're in such a cool moment of momentum. I don't want to slow down. So that's a thing I plan to act on. I think it closes this week, though, so tomorrow I will be doing that.
And I also want to talk to you, Phil, about those classes, because it's a conversation I started at my school. I'm a high school counselor with one of the teachers in the music department about having more classes that are like kind of just for fun, even though we don't do that much. It's like, how does this help for college or whatever? And it creates a lack of interesting, fun things that really include people of all levels. And so I feel really passionate, especially because my daughter is going to be in high school next year, to create more opportunities for her to have opportunities with her non-disabled peers, and because she loves her dance class outside of school, but chorus and things like that would be great.
Yeah, hit me up.
And you can ask any question. It doesn't have to be something that you're going to do. No pressure. Is there anything that didn't get addressed this weekend that you have lingering questions on? I guess we addressed everything. No.
Got to give a little wait time to process.
Sorry.
It's more of a logistical question with the zoo outing. We didn't sign up for it, but we're local, so we're planning on just driving to the zoo.
Sure.
Just curious where we can meet you guys over there.
Aubrey?
The ticket counter at 1:30.
Okay, that sounds right. Yeah, Alyssa knows more details than I do, so.
Yeah, maybe right before we officially dismiss, we'll have Alyssa come up just to give a couple of
Or
pointers.
people can maybe just meet at the front to talk about the zoo trip. I don't think we need to make an announcement. If you want to talk about the zoo trip, come to the front at the end.
I wasn't fast enough taking a picture yesterday, but would you be able to get me the contact details for Boston? I would like to invite them to Amsterdam.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you maybe email me or message me that question so I won't forget? Yeah. Oh, and actually, speaking of that, I guess if anyone wants to go to Amsterdam next year, GRIN Europe is hosting their conference there in March, early March? March. Cool. Yeah.
Yes, it's virtual as well, everything except from a privacy point of view, the workshop on Friday will not be live streamed, but the conference itself will be live streamed and access is for free. So keep a lookout on our Facebook group and we will share all the links and stuff that you need for that.
Yeah, come. Yes, let's go to Amsterdam. Phil doesn't know it yet, but I'm maybe going to go. Maybe. Yeah. Let's go.
It's never, would I want to go to Amsterdam? It's... Yes. Other questions?
I have a question about with the GRICON. So does that mean that we would be switching to an odd year? So if we don't go next year, it would be 3 years until...
Correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Can you restate that, Liz? Just what she...
Yeah, so previously, our conferences were in the odd years and Cure Grins were in the even years. We did that purposefully, so we weren't having competing conferences. But now, since we're combining next year, then they're gonna be the odd years. There won't be a conference every year. Yeah, I mean, at least for now. I mean, yeah. So 2027, 2029. Yes. But every year there will be the GRI get-togethers that we talked about this morning. And this year we're going to host 3. And we did the Illinois one. And then we have Seattle and Brazil. Last year we did San Antonio. They went to Morgan's Wonderland. And we did Australia. So I think we're going to try to do 3 every year. So if you guys think that you want to have one in your area, please let us know, because that helps us pick the areas. And we want to keep doing them in different areas. So everyone gets a chance to go to something.
Is it just a one-day event?
Yeah.
People travel?
I mean, you can. for sure, anyone can go. You don't have to live there. If you want to, you can go. But generally, so far, I think the people that come are usually the local people. No, they're going to be every year. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the regional ones were meant, I mean, they were envisioned as sort of a low stakes way for people to meet up in regional areas, but, and it's kind of beholden on the person in the regional area that wants to do one to decide how they want to do it and what they want to do.
And the location, because
Yeah.
obviously we don't know necessarily what's in every city.
Correct.
Or
yeah.
what's the best thing. We could Google stuff, but the local family usually can tell us, like, no, this is the best place that people should meet up at.
So as that information gets available, then you guys can make those travel decisions. And
Yeah, so
it'll
to be
awesome.
clear, there's generally a host family that helps us with the location and some of the logistics, but we fund it, which really means usually we get a sponsor and the sponsor funds it. But yeah, so we'll pay for event space and food and all that. And some people want to have speakers and some people don't. They just want to do a meetup. So it can be catered to whatever people want. Yeah, we co-host them. Mhm. Thank you, everybody. If no one has questions, I guess we'll give you guys some time back. Oh, 6 minutes. Okay. Enjoy your 6 minutes. Also, we're going to be around packing up for a while, so if you have a question that you just wanted to ask one-on-one, we're around. Okay.
We want to thank
you,
you all.
everybody.